Hello, I'm Kim Castiglionis, Marin Women's Hall of Fame honoree from the class of 2013. It is my pleasure to sit down with this year's class of Marin Women's Hall of Fame inductees to learn about their lives, careers, and the journey that led them to be honored in this way. Since 1987, the Hall of Fame has inducted over 160 Marin women of distinction, women who have made immense contributions to the County of Marin and its residents, as well as the world beyond. Honorees have distinguished themselves in many fields: education, science, business, philanthropy, the arts, politics, law, philosophy, and religion. Each honoree has been a force for positive change in our community. It is a great privilege to acknowledge and document their contributions. Today it is my pleasure to introduce Maria del Socorro Romo, who is being honored in 2025 for her pioneering work for social change. So welcome, Maria Socorro Romo. I know that that's a long name, and if you, at your pleasure, we will refer to you as Socorro for some reason you'll share with us.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me for this interview.
So,
it's my pleasure to be here.
It's our honor to have you with us. Let's start with introducing yourself and talking to us a little bit about your work.
Well, as you said, my name is Maria del Socorro Romo, Socorro for short, and it was the name that I was named when I was growing up. So to me, my first name is Socorro, and I really loved my name. I'm the executive director of West Marin Community Services, an organization who provides safety net services for low-income families and community members who are at need. The organization has been serving the community for over 40 years. Wow. In different forms, and has grown from volunteers to 20 or 20 plus employees at this point in time. We offer services we have a food pantry, rent assistance, energy assistance. We carry programs such as the holiday program, swim programs. We run a youth center. We have a program called Abriendo Caminos who focus on empowering the Latino community in West Marin. And we pivot our programs depending on the needs of the community. During the pandemic, we embrace the community response team. And nowadays is the community resilience team. Is one program that was funded by the county, and because of the success, the county decided to continue funding this program because the nature of the area that we serve were isolated, high risk of natural disasters, and the county really want us to continue with the program and continue preparing the community to respond in an emergency.
Excellent, that's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and that helped to shape who you are today?
I was born and raised in Mexico, and in a small town. I come from a family of 12. My mom had 14 children.
14.
But 2 passed when they were very, very little. And we were lower middle class, or even I can say probably low income family. And to feed 12 children, to dress 12 children, my mom and dad worked tireless all the time. And I saw the disparities. For some reason, I was able to see what was around me and my surroundings, and I noticed at a very early age how we were treated depend on our social economic status or skin color. I also grew up in a family where my mom has a very fair skin and my dad is darker than myself. So my siblings are like one of those candies in different colors. So we always were compared. My oldest sister has fair skin and kind of blonde hair, and then I come with darker skin, darker hair, and friends and neighbors and people who didn't know that well always questioned whether we were sisters and full sisters. And that always bothered me. For some reason, didn't sit well with me. And then when I was in school, biases and racism is everywhere. And I recall being at school and having classmates who were darker than myself, and their household circumstances were worse than mine. And I feel rage every time people speak on them. And I will defend them and protect them and get on the middle and say, you must not do this. This is not okay. And also, growing up in a family where my dad was very macho, very, and he believed that women should be only to serve men. And I remember as a teenager being very upset and very mad when he will say those words, and thinking by myself, I'll prove you wrong. I have been the rebellious in the family, the one who pushes and questions. And when at the age of 21, I decided to move to the United States, looking for the freedom that I didn't have at home, thinking about what I could be or what I could do without those restrictions. And I was lucky enough to landed in West Marin, the community has supported me in many, many ways. I only went to 6th grade in Mexico because it was, middle school was private and my parents could afford to send me to continue my education. But I decided to look for sources, even though in West Marin there is no college. We're very isolated from the rest of the world. I always was looking for mentors and someone who will help me with the language or someone that will help me move forward with my education. I love reading. Reading to me is like food. I can read and forget about eating. And I was always attached to the English books in English that even though I didn't understand the word, I was trying to figure it out. And mentors in the community helped me get through so many hoops. I got my GED as an adult, and the mentors who were mentoring me encouraged me to pursue my career. I went to Santa Rosa Junior College to complete my English courses, to be able to move into regular English, and then general ed, and I moved to Sonoma State. And by the time that I was 1 year away from complete my career, the recession struck, and my family was drastically impacted by it. And we got to the point that we lost some properties. We were about to lose our home, and I have to decide whether to finish my career or going back to work, which I don't regret it because that opened another opportunity for me. Prior to going back to West Marin Community Services, I worked 2 years there as the assistant of the office administration. And then during the recession, because I was going to school and stopped working to complete my schooling, and then the recession hit and I have to go back to work. and I started working in one of the schools in Novato as the family advocate. And that opened up so many opportunities, and especially the opportunity to learn how to navigate the system outside West Marin, because I was so used to whatever was available in West Marin, and start working in Novato. I started learning about the services who were in over the hill county level, and other organizations who were offering similar work, like Norway Community Services, COM, and many other organizations. I worked with them closely and learned about how they were delivering the services. And while I was working in Novato in one of the schools, I started noticing more and more the racial disparities, the biases that came along with the power dynamic, and how that was impacted not only people within the minority groups, but also people who were offering the services, because by not opening up to the differences were impacting the way they were delivering their work. And it was at one of the schools. And I started pushing for some changes at that school, and I developed an after-school program, which I consider being very successful, because I knew that the families who I was serving through the school had 2 or 3 jobs. And for them to help their kids or their children with homework was almost impossible. The kids were at home by themselves after school, doing whatever. And I make friends with one white woman who was a retired teacher, and I said, how about we do this? And we start planning. And the way we develop the program, we will just be at the gym with tables by grade and invite the parents, because when the kids are outside the school, they're hungry. So one parent will coordinate or bring some of the snacks for that day. And other 2 parents and this friend of mine will kind of move around tables, helping the students. And the parents, because their lack of the language in English, of course, they will tell me, I can help. I said, well, just stand next to them. The fact that you're there, your presence is telling them that you care about them. And just have them focus. And we start seeing some change in behaviors, and we start seeing this pride on the kids because they were completing their homework. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to move back to West Marin Community Services, and my heart has been in West Marin since I moved there in 1981. And I didn't think it twice. I went back to West Marin and worked for West Marin Community Services under the program management. And again, I wanted to go back to school, but then with the knowledge that I gained through doing the work in Novato, I started seeing more the gaps on the needs. They became very obvious. And through the management, I managed to make some changes within the organization through the EDs that were leading the organization then. I start little by little. I'm not the one who wants to be very obvious and very pushy. I kind of look around look at my surroundings and then assess and then go for. And then when at one point we started growing, and I started pointing out the needs for certain programs. One of them being more services for the Latino community, besides giving them food and providing rent assistance or meeting other very, very basic needs. I noticed that because the nature of the area, there were no classes, there were no trainings, and we start working to bring at least programs that will link the families or women or males who wanted to participate in certain programs over the hill, what we call over the hill, which is the side, or Petaluma, finding funds so we can pay for the gas, so they can go to Santa Rosa Junior College and pursue their education. Same with the College of Marin. We start linking or talking to the College of Marin to bring courses to that area. We start talking to Canal Alliance to bring legal services to that area at least once a month, or be on the radio. Or we had a radio program along with Canal Alliance. And then when the ED noticed that I was off the leash,
Bye.
no, she said, you know what, I believe that you're no any longer a program manager. Let's move you to program director and put you on salary, because this is not okay for you to be working extra hours and under what we're paying you. And I became the ED. And then she left. And the new person who became the ED didn't last long. Only last, I believe, 3 or 4 months. And suddenly the organization was without an ED. Didn't give a long notice. So they started the hiring process. And when they were at the hiring process, one of the board members said, but how about her? She has what she needs. I didn't recognize it back then. What we need, let's ask her. And I know that I have a lot of weakness, one of them being the language barrier. And my accent, you have to be public speaking and being the face of the organization. And I was very introverted, believe it or not, and I thought about all those pieces. But I also believe that the opportunities comes only once in a life. And I felt that if I really wanted to make the change, I have to take the risk. And I thought, okay, if the board is willing to take the risk, I'm also willing. And then my coworkers, when they learned, they pleaded me. They said, please,
Take the job.
take the job. And I was still doubting then, but then one of them said, please, do you know what that means to us? We need a Latino woman on this space. We need a leader like you. This means a lot to us, to the work. And that kind of shook me, and I couldn't say no. I said, no, they're right. They're right, it is time. So I decided to accept the offer, thinking that I was going to be on that position for 1 year or 2 the most, helping them with the transition until they hired. And I have been on this position for 6 years.
Outstanding.
Very grateful for the opportunity. Grateful to these 2 young Latinos who really pushed me, and grateful for the community who has shifted things in a way that I never expected. And I feel that I have played a big role, because by other organizations seeing what West Marin Community Services did, they start reaching out and say how we can do something similar, how we can change this patterns that we have of white supremacy, how we can give people of color more opportunities. And before became the ED, I was invited to be part of the conversation because the West Marin Fund wanted to try to change that power dynamic and make more space for minority groups to take more leadership roles and be engaged. And I knew that my boss always told me, "You're my boss. You're always bossing me around." And she asked me to be at that meeting, and I told her, sometimes you get discouraged when doors close, or when you hear remarks that are not that pleasant. And I told her, you know what? I'm tired of the question, because the question was why Latinos do not participate. And I said, and I know why. And I'm tired of hearing that question, because very little has been done to make a space for this group. And when I don't want to say it again. I told her. And then she said, but you have to go. We need you on that meeting. And I said, well, I'm going. But only if you will do what I tell you that needs to happen. And be careful, because if I go there, no one is going to stop me. Not even you. And we had a very healthy and good relationship. And she said, okay, come, I don't care. I want you to be there because we want to make the change. And then when we developed Abriendo Caminos with Marian Eagles and myself developed that program because we really wanted to see the change start happening. And I believe that program, we developed it in 2014, was the key for other organizations to start seeing that changes needed to happen within West Marin. There is a lot still to do, but if I think about before year 2000, when I worked the last time at West Marin Community Services, and I was working in the area, and see now the changes that I have seen with other nonprofits, the push to bring more equity into we all do. We have a collaborative. Nowadays we collaborate with other agencies, other nonprofits, to carry on programs in the benefit of the whole community, because our community is very vast. We don't have the numbers, but we have the land. And meaning by having the land, we have to bring services into very remote areas. And for one organization to do it on its own, it's almost impossible. So the pandemic forced us to work more in collaboration, and to develop programs on the benefit of the community, not on our benefit, because we're here to serve. And we developed the community rapid response during COVID, and we joined forces to distribute rent assistance because the beauty of living in a small community and wealthy community is that because we're a small community, we know each other, and people is very aware of the needs of the community. And as soon as the pandemic struck, we sheltered in place, and people start sending money our way to support the families that we supported. So we start giving funds before the county because we had the money. The money was available. MCF was very supportive. They also sent money right away, and we were able, because we have some reserve. I talked to the board and I said, at least half of the money that was provided by MCF is going to go towards rent. And I developed a whole program because we have homeless, and the homeless were the ones who were struggled the most. We managed to shelter in place 20 homeless for 3 months, at least for the very first 3 months. We were able to provide rent assistance before we start getting the money from the county. And we collaborate between San Geronimo Valley Community Center, Police and Land Trust, CLAM, Community Land Trust in Marin, and West Marin Community Services. We coordinate to ensure that families were receiving funds, that some were not duplicating services or tapping on different agencies. So we share information, we coordinate how we were going to be distributing the funds that each organization got. We didn't manage the funds, we keep our funding intact, but we were sharing information and referring people to each other to ensure that we were serving the community. And those relationships are still very, very strong. We do a lot of work with those organizations. And
very powerful. I think what you've just shared is a very powerful example of what can be achieved when you collaborate with other interested parties, right? A lot can be done. But having said that, given all of the just extraordinary services and things you've been able to accomplish, is there one program that you're particularly proud of?
Well, I'm very proud of everything that happens within the organization, but I believe Abriendo Caminos being one of the developers, and seeing the results of it, I feel extremely proud of that. I'm so grateful for the ideas that came through our brains with Maria Nigel and myself, because the beauty of this program is not itself because we are supporting the Latino community, is how we develop it. We had no funds, okay? We start from grassroots movement, no funds, no, just the idea, and start knocking doors. And the most someone could pledge was $3,000 to do the first session and see what will happen. And then we have to sit and talk and say, we need to be very strategic here, how we're going to be doing this. Then we have the idea to invite community members who have told us over and over, we want to support the community, we want to support the Latino community, we want them to flourish. We reach out to mainstream moms, the local mainstream moms group, the collaborative, of course, that is built or composed of different nonprofits, and said, we need your support, and we're thinking about this. We need someone who help with the outreach, we need someone to help with the venue, and we need someone to bring food. We have to pay the facilitator, but we need these other pieces. And then we have the idea to invite the people who sign in to volunteer to bring the food. And it was a potluck. And we set it up in a way that people feel welcome, with lights, flowers, tablecloths. And we did not allow any of the people who brought the food to stay.
Interesting.
And we told them,
Interesting.
this is for them. And a sign of support and respect, you're going to be bringing the dish, wish them well, and leave. It was one of the requirements.
That's interesting.
Very interesting idea, but it was so well taken by both groups. When we were closing the first session, and then we were asked, with the $3,000, we have to bring at least 20 participants. It was a challenge for the community, so we have to include every single people to
Fill the room.
Fill the room.
Fill the room.
and to encourage others to come, you know.
Bring a friend.
Bring a friend or so. In the first session, we had over 40 people.
Wow.
It was amazing. We were on disbelief. And the participants themselves were on tears when they learned how it was put together. And I recall one gentleman saying, I'm grateful for the people who made this food. No white before had made a dinner for me. This is very, very special.
Wow, that's lovely.
And from there we have modified the program, because this is a program that is modified according of the needs of the Latino community, not my needs or the organization needs. If the community said, bring this, we'll bring that. Do this, we'll do that. We find the sources to continue running that program. During the pandemic, it was one of the programs who suffered the most because we couldn't meet in person, and this is about building relationships, building a strong, embracive community is their desire. So we do a lot of meetings in person, and during the pandemic, we couldn't do it. And this fiscal year, we decided that we wanted to ignite, and we are about to start again the trainings. We did other pieces, but the more powerful piece and what really encouraged people to be participating are the trainings, where we talk about leadership and what it means to them, how they wanted to be seen. We want them to get rid of the fear of speaking for themselves, be advocates for their own children, their family, because they need that. They need to be vocal about their needs. They need to be heard. And people hears me, but when they hear them is when the change happens.
Yeah, so true.
So we have to be encouraging them, and we are about to start again doing that piece, that training piece, the empowering piece.
It's amazing. What would you say, what advice would you give to that next generation of female leader who wants to be involved to make change? What would you say to her?
What I will say to her, follow your heart and follow your dreams. And don't let anyone stop you. Their dreams, their values, their acknowledge is gold. Don't bury it. Let it shine.
Excellent, excellent. And what about your vision for the work that you're doing, and secondly, the vision for Marin? What would you like to see in the future materialize, both in your community and the work that you're doing, as well as Marin at large?
You know, in the community, as I said, I live in a very unique community, and they respond very well to changes and trends. My dream is to remain and to keep our diverse community, and especially now that we're hearing that the Park Services might close the dairy farms and cattle farms. And my main concern is that most of the workers are Latinos. They're part of our community. They're part of what had made West Marin community very vibrant, very unique community. And I wish that it will remain, and the leaders who will come behind me, and any leaders right now, will speak up and really try to build houses or provide housing, who is a big issue in our community, so these community members can stay. And children who are at school, you know, over 50%, I believe it's 60%, over 60% of this school participation in Shoreline Unified School District is Latino. Mm. And if this family move, even families who are enriched from a diverse community are going to suffer. And the same applies to the county. You know, try to build housing, because housing is a big issue. Housing and programs that support a private community. I don't see why we shouldn't be all messed up and together. Mm-hmm. We're all humans. We belong to the same place.
We live in the same neighborhoods. Yeah.
So that's my dream.
Excellent. As we wrap up our conversation here today, is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you would like to share with our viewers?
I don't think so. You know, I wish that we will have more time to touch into housing, but then it will become probably very political. But no, really. You know, I think that I cover pretty much what I do, how I believe, where I feel my strongest, and what I wish for future generations.
Fantastic. It has been my absolute pleasure to spend this time with you. Thank you so much, and congratulations again on being inducted this year to the Marin Women's Hall of Fame. We want to thank again Socorro Romo for sharing her stories of her incredible life and the wonderful work that she's done. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in. The Marin Women's Hall of Fame is a project of the YWCA Golden Gate Silicon Valley. If you would like to learn more about the Hall of Fame and our amazing honorees, please visit www.yourywca.org.